And you all know that there are so many people in the community that we all need to hear from, who are doing amazing things, who have a message that the community needs to hear. But and also the best measuring stick of these great people is that these are the people that mainstream media tends to be afraid of the most. And one brother that I have today is somebody for whom I have tremendous respect. I have followed this brother for a very long time on social media, and his name is Deric Muhammad. I'm gonna pull it up so you can see how to spell it: Deric. And if you don't know that name, you will know it after we get done talking. And without further ado, I'd like to ask my brother, how you doing today, man?
Man, I'm blessed, brother, Dr. Watkins. I have a saying that, I woke up this morning looking down at the dirt and not up at it, and the rest is negotiable. So I'm blessed, bro. It's an honor to be on the show.
Oh, it's an honor to have you, man. And I've seen you mention that on Instagram, and everybody, I'm gonna have this brother share his Instagram because it's really a great place to follow. If you like Black people who love Black people, then Deric Muhammad is your guy. I tend to like Black people who like Black people, and not all Black people love Black people. We know that, and that's what it is. I mean, it's tough, and maybe we can start the conversation there as everybody's putting your B1 in the chat. You probably are familiar, Deric. Here we live on the B1 philosophy, and it's not something I came up with. I think actually Professor Black Truth and Jason Black were using this terminology before, so I'm not going to pretend to take credit for it. But I embraced it wholeheartedly, and I made it into something that I defined in my own worldview. And to me, B1 means being Black first, prioritizing ourselves first before anybody else. Two means B1 to me means that we can be number one in education, economics, and everything else if we put our minds to it, if we prepare our children. Also, B1 means unity. B1, you must be one to be successful. So the interesting thing is, I'd like to ask you, maybe we can start there. Why is that such a controversial idea? Why is Black people loving Black people just such a threat to so many other people, and just something that makes so many people uncomfortable?
I would say that it's a controversial idea because for 400 plus years, Black people have been taught to take care of everybody except themselves. And unfortunately, we've passed that toxic tradition down from generation to generation. We have to be B1. We have to be Black first if we're going to operate on an even playing field. For instance, if B1 means Black first, we have to begin to look at how other communities operate. It could be said that Asians operate from the A1 principle, Asians first. Jewish people operate from the J1 principle, Jewish people first. White people have been operating from the W1 white first principle since they've been on the planet Earth, which was approximately 6,000 years ago, according to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So operating from a B1 perspective puts us on an even playing field. If we operate from any other perspective, my brother, we will continue to find ourselves looking like or thinking we're moving forward, but really moving backwards. It's almost like when you get into a car and you look down at the gear shift. You've got P, which represents park. You've got R, which represents reverse, and D, which represents drive. Well, imagine if someone switched the lettering, okay? The engine still works the same, but you switch the lettering. You will put the gear in R and smash the gas. You really would think that you'll be going backwards, but you'll be going forward. And you put it in D, and you think you're going forward, but you're really going backwards. And that's what white supremacy has mastered. They have mastered the art of making Black people think that we're moving forward when we're really moving backward. So we have got to operate from the B1 perspective if we want a future for our children.
Well, I like that analogy. Moving backward when you think you're moving forward. And here's the thing: if you let's say I think I'm pro-Black, but I've been taught in the wrong way, as you said. I went to school with white supremacists at the front of the classroom who are teaching me that forward is backward and backward is forward. But I really believe I'm pro-Black, so I'm gonna go hard with what I believe in. I say I'm as an educated Negro, and I'm going to go hard for the Black community. So next thing you know, because I've chosen to go hard and because I've been taught that backward is forward and forward is backward, I'm going to go 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction.
Right.
You follow me? You know, and that to me is an interesting, the paradox of some of us hoity-toity educated folks who went to school a long time and all that is we will really think we're doing something good when actually we are engaged in accelerated destruction of our people. Just the wrong ideas, the wrong approaches, the wrong way of doing almost everything. Like, for example, if I've been taught my whole life that the best way I can be successful as a Black man is to go work as hard as I can for a white man, then I'm going to put all my energy into building white-owned businesses and do nothing in my own community. And so the white man's rich and the Black man stays poor. But I think I've made a contribution. So it almost seems to me that based on what your point is, I'd like to get your thoughts on this, that we've got to, when you talk about it, think about it like a war, where you take a certain territory, you secure certain areas in the war. I almost think we have to secure the educational system, and more specifically the minds of our children. We must begin to educate our own kids if we want them to even know what it means to make progress.
Exactly. I heard this one brother talk about how success is a moving target. And he gave an interesting analogy. He said that, when you're 1 year old, success means your parents feed you 3 meals a day. You get to cry when you want to. People bring you what you want when you cry. That's a level of success. He says when you're 5 years old, let's say 3 years old, success is sleeping through the night without wetting the bed. Then 15 years old, success is getting a girlfriend. 30 years old, success is buying a car. Like, we have all of these standards for success at different levels of life. It's a moving target. And so when you get around to being 90 years old, all of a sudden, success is getting through the night without urinating in the bed again. It's like it comes full circle. And I think that we as a people are still perfecting what it means to be pro-Black. What it meant to be pro-Black in the 1950s is different from what it means right now. Why? Because we've experimented with certain things that did not work. The desire for integration back in the 50s and the 60s, if you desired integration back then, you were considered to be pro-Black. Not today, because we already experimented with that social experiment, and we see it's one of those things that where we thought we were moving forward, but we were really going 100 miles per hour backwards. So the uniqueness of the time in which we live is that we get the opportunity to learn from all of these false flags of what it meant back then to be pro-Black. Like nowadays, I think it's clear. If we're not talking ownership, that's not pro-Black. If we're not talking ownership of land and reparations, that's not pro-Black. So I think just like success is a moving target, pro-Blackness has been a moving target for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 decades. But I think now we have a clearer picture of what it looks like. And some Negroes don't want to grasp what's in their faces, because what it means to be pro-Black today will make you uncomfortable if you still want a seat at Massa's table. That's where we are right now. And if you're not willing to endure the discomfort, even if the discomfort means the sacrifice of life, bloodshed even, so that the next generation can be what the last generation could not be, then we're not on code. We're not on point. We're not as B1 as we think we are. So I think, again, the B1 concept is something that needs to be adopted nationwide, because if we're not thinking Black first, we're not pro-Black.
Wow, very well said. Very well said. Everybody, I'm speaking with Mr. Deric Muhammad, and Deric and I are talking about all aspects of Blackness. I hope you all will take one moment, please, and not just say greet the brother and welcome him to the platform, but also hit the thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button. And I'm also going to put Deric's Instagram on here. And everybody who has an Instagram account, if you will go follow him, these are the people that we should be listening to. No disrespect to the rappers, but we need to listen to the thinkers. No disrespect to the athletes, but we need to hear from the revolutionaries in the community, the people that are Black first. No disrespect to anybody else, but sometimes the reason you get the wrong information is because we're listening to the wrong people. I want to elevate the smart people in the community and get rid of some of the ignorance, or at least have an alternative perspective, so that those of you who are smart and are B1 and want to be smarter don't feel like you are the outcast or the oddball. So have people tell you that you act in white because you actually love a Black woman and want to raise a healthy Black family, or if you have people think that you're being uppity because you want to read a book instead of go to the club. And a lot of us have seen that. And actually that leads me to the next topic I want to ask you about. Just this morning, my wife and I were talking about Bill Cosby, and we were kind of breaking down and explaining. And a lot of people either don't understand or refuse to understand how a person could admit that, that there were some questionable things that have occurred in the life of Bill Cosby that make us all kind of say, what was going on? While at the same time being 100% clear that he should not have been in jail. This is and I don't even know what your position is. So I want you to feel free to share whatever perspective you have. But I felt that the man's civil rights were violated. I didn't feel like they had any evidence. They promised not to prosecute. They violated all kinds of rules to get him locked up. That's why I felt like he should be free. But there are a lot of people who just refuse to accept that, right? Because they just believe he's guilty no matter what. I'd like to get your thoughts on the Cosby situation, as well as how that might fit into conversations we have about not just the debacle Cosby's experiencing, but finding a way to come to terms with his legacy where we can still give him credit for some of the things he did that were positive. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, as a Muslim and a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under Minister Farrakhan, the Holy Quran teaches us that on the day of judgment, when a man stands before his creator, he has his good deeds in his right hand and he has his bad deeds in his left hand. And depending on which hand is the heaviest determines that man's fate. That being said, when you look at Bill Cosby as a whole, as a man, and you look at his work product over the many decades that he's been an entertainer, a philanthropist, and an example for Black men and Black boys, particularly during the time that the Cosby Show was the #1 show on television, I would challenge us to not just look at the accusations and judge him by that. You have to also look at the good. In the Nation of Islam, we call it settling on the best part of the planet Earth. Now, I watched your interview with Bill Cosby spokesperson. Is it Andrew Watkins?
It's Andrew Wyatt.
Wyatt, thank you. Excuse me for messing up his name. But I watched it from beginning to end, and it was very informative. And I would challenge anyone who wants to make an argument for or against Bill Cosby to go back and watch that interview, because in it, I learned a lot that I did not know. Now, with the Bill Cosby situation, you have more than one debate taking place at the same time. And when we don't understand that, then we find ourselves yelling at one another in circles because we don't understand. This is just not a one level situation that we're dealing with. Bill Cosby's situation is there's a moral argument there, and there is a legal argument there. What I'm hearing you make, Dr. Boyce, is the legal argument that the man should not have been in jail. His civil rights were obviously violated. If not, they wouldn't have let him out of jail. When was the last time you just let him see a Black man go free if there were not some real hard evidence that his civil rights were violated. If Cosby is as guilty as the Pennsylvania courts says he is, then why did they have to cheat in order to convict him? That's my question. If he's that guilty, then do it the right way. Now, as far as the moral argument, and I go with the same thing I heard you say. I can't speak to what Cosby did or didn't do with those women because I was not there. So I don't know. I do not know. But what I do know and what I did learn from that interview is that I do believe that the powers that be in the entertainment industry had an axe to grind with Bill Cosby, and that played out on the legal stage, and that's one of the reasons that black man ended up in jail. I don't know about you, but there are very few times when I see a black man walk out of prison and I'm not happy. There's just very few times when I see a black man walk out of jail and it doesn't do something to me, because so many of us get marched into prison, and a lot of times for things that we did not do. So I think there's so many lessons to be learned from this Bill Cosby situation that we as a community need to focus less on our varying opinions about it. Let's stop fighting about it and let's see what it is that we can learn from it.
Well, it's interesting. You make a great point about the difference between the legal argument and the moral argument, right? And we know that legality is not the same as morality. Right. For example, it was once considered illegal to teach a slave how to read, but there's nothing immoral about it. It was just the law. Or paying college athletes was always illegal, but I always felt it was immoral not to pay them. Right. And we can debate them. Now, here's what's interesting. When I think about the Cosby case, I actually am okay with us making both the legal and the moral argument to say that you should have incarcerated him, because obviously the legality, the legal issue is right there. It's plain as day. Judge Joe Brown. When Joe Brown kind of chopped and diced up Mark Lamont Hill the way he did, that made that point real clear. The moral side of it is this: you violated the man's civil rights. You sent an old man to die in prison based on very interesting hearsay. You wouldn't do that to a white woman. I challenge everybody in this room. I've asked this question before. Give me a yes or no. Have you ever heard of any situation where a white female was sent to die in prison where there was no physical evidence that she committed a crime against anybody? Give me a yes or no. Also, give me a yes or no on this. Has a white female ever been sent to die in prison for allegedly touching somebody's genitalia? If a white woman were to touch my genitals and I was to say, okay, first I want this woman to pay me $3 million. And then I want you to send her to a level 5 maximum security prison where, with the scariest human beings on the planet, where she might be beaten and raped every single day until she's dead. People would think I'm crazy. They would think I'm asking for too much. And so the thing about white supremacy to me in America is it's right in front of your face. And the idea that we have black folks who claim to be civil rights activists who are openly advocating for the violation of a black man's civil rights is a perfect example of what you were talking about. How you got a lot of Negroes who think they're moving forward, but really they're moving backward. And the reason they falsely think they're moving forward is because many of them, they went to school. Some of them got PhDs or whatever. And so they were educated by white supremacists, and they become the perfect white supremacists because they have black skin. So they come to the community with all these poisonous ideas, like literally almost like a virus, coming into the community with all these poison ideas. And they say, this is progress. We need to make progress. We need to be more progressive. They even, coined that term. And what they're really saying is, in their mind, that progress really means getting closer to what white people think. Thinking more like them. Right. That's all it is. That's the only measuring stick, and that to me is something that necessitates the importance of smart people like you taking the lead in conversations, because at the very least, we as black people have to learn how to originate our own damn ideas. Please give me your thoughts on that, brother. I didn't mean to talk too much. Please forgive me.
I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, and I think we need to coin a hashtag called Protect Black Ideas. protect Black ideas.
Mm.
And these are the ideas that originate in the minds of Black people, but at the same time are synonymous with an agenda of empowerment for Black people. There are too many Black faces that have already been given the idea of the oppressor, and what they are, they're just talking heads for the ideas of others, not for ours. There are some so-called leaders who would probably love to be able to come out and say, you know what, we support Bill Cosby being freed from jail, but they are afraid that those who write their checks will not be pleased. Let's just call it for what it is. Let's just call it for what it is. I think, did you do a poll on your Twitter account
Yes, I did.
Yes. And could you please share with us what were the numbers?
Yep. I asked the simple question. I said, do you think Bill Cosby should have been released from prison? 88% of the respondents said yes. 88%. That's fascinating, right? Because you'll never hear that on CNN or MSNBC or anywhere.
Exactly. 88%. Exactly. And so if we're listening to the platforms that are controlled by some of the very people who had a vested interest in taking Bill Cosby down, then we'll never get the truth about how Black people see things and how we feel. I could actually say that maybe about 88% of the people that I've talked to. So we're happy to see him get out of jail. And this includes Black women. Most Black women that I talked to were happy to see the brother get out of jail. And I don't think that we should any longer have to explain that just because we were happy to see Bill Cosby released, that doesn't mean that we don't support Black women or that we don't support victims of sexual assault. I don't think we have to say it anymore. I think it's time out for us being bullied by these hashtags. You know, a game is being played right in front of our faces, and as long as we are operating in the field of fear, then we will always be manipulated. When Felicia Rashad came out and expressed her heartfelt desire to see her comrade and her contemporary and her brother freed from prison, she should have been able to express herself without fear of being censored and without fear of her livelihood being impacted. Do you know what's going on here? What they're operating is just a completely different form of slavery. Because on the plantation, there were certain things that you could or couldn't do, certain things that you could or could not say, lest you attract the punishment of the slave master. It's no different than what we're seeing today. And this is supposed to be America. Yeah, we're second-class citizens paying first-class taxes. She should be able to say that she supports her brother, whether she's right or wrong. That is her constitutional right. But I think it's just another thing that we have to look at as a lesson. Number one, if they can do it to Bill Cosby, they can damn sure do it to your son or your grandson or your great-grandson. They can do it to any one of us. Most of us don't have the resources that Bill Cosby had. And if they can hush Felicia Rashad, a woman who has carried herself with dignity and grace from the time we first saw her on television, she has been a great example for what a Black woman is supposed to look like, act like, talk like, and walk like in Hollywood. And look at the way that they treat her. And if this is not the final chapter of a lesson that we should have learned a long time ago, brothers and sisters, at the end of the day, we are all we got. But that's okay, because guess what? We are all that we need.
Right on. I love it. I love it. Everybody, this brilliant Black man that I'm speaking with is named Deric Muhammad, and Deric is he's out of is it Dallas or Houston, Deric?
Houston, sir.
Houston, out of Houston, and he is a smart brother. And I'm gonna put his Instagram. His Instagram's right there. It's Deric Muhammad, Deric. I want everybody to
Thank
go
you.
follow him on Instagram because this brother has a lot of great things to say, and he's definitely B1. He cares about his people. And everybody, I would like for you, if you could take 1 second, please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button. And I want to let everybody know next week. You guys know we make movies over here, and we have a budget for filmmaking, and we've been working for almost 2 years on a film called "Till Death Do Us Part," and it's all about how to form a Black marriage and make it work. We understand that to build our community, we must have family. The men must love the women must love the men. Shout out to Black folks who agree with me on that. And Tierra KJ Williams put this film together, actually down in Dallas, and literally we've been working on it since pre-pandemic. And we just got it done, and it's excellent. We broke it into 6 pieces, and you can watch it for free. So just register at blackmovienight.net. We're going to watch it July 22nd. So that's coming up. And we're going to not just watch the movie. We're going to bring in Tierra and also bring in one of the couples that's going to give you real information on what it really takes to make your relationships work, because a lot of this advice out here is just bad advice. And I don't want you to have an unhappy life, and I want you to be able to build. And we got to build together. Okay. So everybody hit the thumbs up button. So let me dive back in there, man. You made a lot of great points when you were talking about this in terms of the treatment of Felicia Rashad. And what was really powerful is when you said that if they can do it to Bill Cosby, they can do it to your son. Well, let me tell you this, man. This is real interesting. So after I did the interview with Cosby's PR representative, Andrew Wyatt, who was really entertaining. He was a great storyteller. I mean, he was more interesting. I didn't know he was going to be that interesting, but I loved it. And so later on that night, he reached out and he said, "Mr. Cosby would like to talk to you." And I said, "Okay, sure." You know, I'd never talked to him before. And here's what was fascinating. So my wife, you know, we grew up on the Cosby Show. You know, we think Cosby's, that what he did television wise was extraordinary. And so she tells her mother, who's about 80 years old and a little bit younger than Cosby, and then her mother tells my mother, "Oh, they're going to talk to Bill Cosby today." And I noticed, and I got a chance to listen to these old school Black women. I mean, these are the protectors in the community in so many ways. I mean, these quality women, these are the ones that, the Vicky Dillard types. I mean, these are the women that just really hold it down for us in so many ways. Been doing that since slavery, right? And I listened to them talk about Cosby, and I noticed how these women, strong women, they don't tolerate things like sexual assault, none of that stuff. But they kind of had this almost like spidey sense of this X-ray vision where they could see through some of the nonsense. Like they could see through the gold diggers. They could see through some of the people that might be in those questionable situations, and they differentiate, right, in a way that America doesn't encourage people to do. Right, we're encouraged to say, okay, here's this list of alleged victims. Here's a group of people, mostly white women, who are all saying something happened, no proof of it, but they're all saying it, so it must be true, right? And they just saw right through it. They said, no, this is all silly. Most of it, we know what it is. And I noticed that, and I noticed how it's very important, I think, for us as men to make it clear that we support women in every way that we know how to. But that, when you go to those other extremes, like when you say things like believe all women, that just doesn't make any sense. Like they literally, because you are a woman and you told me something, I'm supposed to believe is true. We know women and men are capable of lying. We know that men and women are capable of distorting what actually happened. And I find that really fascinating that nobody else seems to really get that, or either they don't get it or they get it and they're pretending like they don't get it. Right. So I really think what's interesting is that women like my mother are not heard in this country. I think that's the point I'm getting to. When you talk about the Cosby thing, you hear from the white female, you hear from the feminist, but you're not hearing from those women who maybe they really were victims of various forms of assault, who are saying this is a bunch of BS. What are your thoughts on what I just said? I'm not even gonna frame it as a question.
I think that when we as a community are given hashtags to push and promote, we should put careful thought into what's the origin of this. I mean, think about it. If there was a woman out there who had every ambition and agenda to lie on a man, accusing him of something he didn't do in order to get the money, then I could see her creating a hashtag that says believe all women, because that could be manipulated in a way to falsely accuse a man and possibly gain some financial gain from it. Do you understand what I'm saying? These hashtags are given to us from people who already have an agenda. And so I'll tell you a quick story. I pride myself with being an on the ground activist, meaning I like to be out among the people. I like being able to touch the people. I love feeling the spirit of the people. And when you do the kind of work that we do, you know, your phone number gets around. Like, anyway, on several occasions, I've received phone calls from family members who said, hey, we have a family member who was sexually assaulted. And there have been times when, you know, I remember a young girl, she was probably 14 to 15 years old, and she used to hang out at my sister's home. And my sister came and told me, we're going to call her Precious. I don't remember her real name. You know, Precious said that her mama's boyfriend tried, you know, to rape her last night. I'm like, what? So we sat down and talked with her. And she confirmed it. So later that day, myself and other members of the FOI, along with my brother Abdul Qiyam Muhammad, shout out to brother Qiyam. I'm mentioning his name because he can bear witness that this happened. You know, we went and knocked on the door. Mother's boyfriend came to the door. Brother, can we speak with you for a second? Yeah, he said, you know, Precious is alleging that you tried to sexually assault her last night. Is that true? Oh, no, brother, that's not true. That's not true. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to come back around 3 o'clock today, and we're going to bring her with us, and we're going to have a conversation about it. When we came back at 3 o'clock later that day, Precious's mom said, he gone, y'all. He went back to Louisiana, and they never saw him again. So I'm saying that to say, I don't have to say that we stand ready to defend victims of sexual assault or those who where there's an attempt. We do it. We do it. We go there. But there's another situation. And if you're in Houston, you may remember this young sister. She was a high school student. She said that she had been pulled into a vacant house and that she was sexually assaulted by 2 black males. This was a young black sister. She was underage, 16, I think. We went to her home. We spoke with her family. You know, you have to be very careful how you handle people, young women who said that they've been victims of sexual assault. You know, you never reveal their identity. You don't ask them questions unless they want to talk. There's a way to handle it. I've been doing it for many years. And so we started to organize the community publicly around these claims. Dr. Boyce, we had a sketch. You know how they make the suspect sketch? The police came and made a sketch. So now we've got faces, 2 faces. And not only did we have activists and community members going door to door saying, have you seen these men? We got street dudes, you know, on the street riding around looking for them. It was a big thing. We all on the news with it. And one morning I got a phone call from the young girl's mother stating that she had confessed that she was not telling the truth, that she had voluntarily skipped school. She'd done some things that she was afraid to admit to her parents, but all of this stuff was stirred up. And I'm telling you, because I was there in the thick of the energy, somebody could have easily gotten hurt. So you can't tell me, believe all victims, be they women, men, or whatever. I say believe all victims, but you must first investigate to find out who the victim is, because sometimes the victim is the one who's being falsely accused. And again, the Holy Quran teaches us that when an unrighteous person brings you news, look carefully into it, lest you harm a people in ignorance and be sorry for what you did. So if a woman comes to me and tells me, Brother Deric Muhammad, I've been sexually assaulted, I am inclined to believe her, but it is my duty to, after I believed her personally, I still have to investigate it and look into it. And once we arrive at truth, then we determine who the real victim is. But again, these hashtags that are given to us for diabolical purposes. Like, I don't have anything against the defund the police movement. I have nothing against it. In certain ways, I support it. Defund them, take the money from them. They ain't doing nothing with it anyway, except upholding an infrastructure where they could kill us and get away with it. But I question where that came from. Because whoever wrote it had a vested interest in writing it. Whoever wrote Defund the Police was probably already well positioned to take the funds that were being defunded and put it into their own coffers and run and do something with it in some other community. So we just got to stop running off with these hashtags and using hashtags to bully one another and to bash one another without finding out if we created the hashtag and for what purpose. I hope I'm making sense, my brother.
I think you're making perfect sense, and I want everybody to know that the brother that we are speaking with today is Mr. Deric Muhammad, and that's his Instagram, and that's also his Twitter. So everybody should please follow Deric Muhammad. He's a smart brother, and also take 1 second, everybody. Please hit the thumbs up button if wherever you're watching. Hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button, all that stuff. We're building Black media. Black-owned media is critically important. One of the things that I believe, and I assume my brother agrees with me, is I mentioned it to Cosby's guy, and I've said it before. Supporting Black-owned media is very important, because when you think about a guy like a Bill Cosby, since we were talking about him, let's use him as an example. Who else is going to really preserve his legacy? Right. In an accurate, in a fair way, right? I think you can be completely fair to Cosby and still give him credit for the things that he did, right? And then challenge him on the things that that are not quite as perfect as everything else, if you know what I mean. Right. I think about, when I think about Cosby's life, I saw him making really massive donations to lots of institutions and HBCUs like no other, giving them all kinds of money, and supporting media outlets, like the NBCs. NBC probably made $1 billion off of him. He supported white universities like Temple. And I believe he did that partly because a lot of people do philanthropy to secure their legacy, right? Like, these are supposed to be the guardians of Bill Cosby's legacy and his family empire, right? Well, all of those people ran and ducked and hid when the heat got a little bit too hot. His advisor, was even speaking very candidly. I was very surprised by this, about Al Sharpton and other people who were all in this corner before. But when the heat got too hot, they ain't returning phone calls no more, none of that. And I would say that when you look at Black folks out here that are untethered to the system, that I'm talking about the free Black people. I know people make jokes all the time because the conspiracy theory is that I'm secretly being controlled by the government or by an Asian man or by a white man. There is no strings in my back, right? I can say whatever I want. And I said, I will always return your phone call, because I'm not scared of any of these people. I think those are the institutions we must support. I would love it if maybe for the rest of Cosby's life, he takes that $500 million fortune. They didn't take all his money. He's still doing very well. I would love to see him writing $10, $20, $30 million checks to Black-owned schools run by Black educators in the Black community, so that they don't have to ask for money from the government. They don't need money from corporate America. They don't need money from the Democrats. They are able to operate independently, right? I would love to see some resources, and it's not just Cosby, I'm talking about anybody, go toward independent Black-owned media outlets, so that we can broadcast our message to millions of people, just like CNN and MSNBC and Fox News can, right? Because at the end of the day, I think Cosby's legacy is going to be preserved by people like us. I don't see a lot of people saying the things that you and I are saying. I mean, y'all give me a yes or no in the chat. Are y'all seeing any other conversations anywhere in mainstream media where intelligent Black men are giving a fair and intelligent assessment of what happened in the Cosby case? And this isn't just Cosby, it's every other issue that goes on in the community. This is what we have to support. I'm not talking about just supporting me. I'm talking about anybody. Like this brother Deric, he's doing the work. Why are you so quick? I mean, think about this. I'm going to make this point, then I'm going to shut up because I'm talking too much. But process just how much money we spend on Popeye's chicken alone, right? And Air Jordans and supporting some rapper with 8 babies mamas who wants to kill Black people for a living, or over here giving our money to because Disney made a movie that has Black people in it, and then you go to a brother like yourself who really does care about the community, and I don't know where you get your support or how much you get, but I think you deserve a lot more, and so I really want us to challenge ourselves and become conscious of that economic consciousness. Everybody uses the term consciousness, but I don't think a lot of people know what it really means to be conscious.
Right.
Consciousness is an awareness. Are you aware of where you're putting your support, where you're putting your money? Very important. Can you speak to that, brother? What do you think?
Man, I agree. I believe that economic consciousness is critical. Not only is economic consciousness critical, economic justice is something that we have to pay closer attention to. When we're asking for reparations, when we're demanding reparations, we're not showing up in Washington, D.C. with a tin cup asking for a handout. Reparations is actually economic justice. We want proper compensation for the work that our ancestors have already done. That's what we want, because that is what we deserve. And so one of the reasons that I admire your platform so much, my brother, is because you deal with a plethora of issues that are critical to Black people, but at the same time, you stay focused on driving home that point that we have to get our economics together if we are ever to be free and independent. And there are very few people who operate in this space who are as consistent as you are at striving to elevate the consciousness of our people. And I guess I want to say thank you. I want to celebrate you and just put that out there, bro, because your work ethic, whether one likes or dislikes Dr. Boyce Watkins, whether you support or don't support, whether you agree or disagree with some of his positions, you can't argue with the work ethic. And this is something that I think is a great example for our young boys. Our young boys have to be taught work ethic. Our young girls have to be taught work ethic, not twerk ethic. There's too much teaching of twerk ethic and not enough teaching about work ethic. But we got to get the economics piece together. And I will also say that as a people, we have to become land-centric in our thinking. Where there is land, there is freedom. You cannot have one without the other. The young brothers and sisters in South Africa who have formed a political party called the Economic Freedom Fighters, they're fighting for what they call economic freedom in our lifetime. Not 30, 40 years down the road, they're saying we want it now. And at the top of their platform is land expropriation without compensation. In other words, Europeans who came to South Africa and took the land, it's time for us to take it back, and we're not buying it back either. We want the land back so that we can control the means of production and create jobs for our people. That's right. Brother Dr. Boyce, that is the next level for Black America.
Yes.
Buying Air Jordans with your money, that's 20 years ago, bro. Spending your money on foreign cars, and there's nothing wrong with having nice things. But there is something wrong with thinking that you need, quote unquote, these things in order to increase your value. Something is wrong with that. But we can't talk about reparations without talking about land. And you're talking to a brother. I grew up in the inner city. I don't even know how to grow a tomato, but I'm learning because I know that that is the future. That's what's coming. And so we have to elevate our thought process in order to meet the demands of the time. And I feel like, bro, we're living in a very interesting time in our culture. And this is just, some of you may disagree, but this is just my observation. I look at the culture and I feel like when it comes to Black consciousness, we have reached a height unlike never before since we've been in America. I believe that we live in an era of Black consciousness that supersedes the 60s. Right now, being Black and being conscious and wearing your hair natural and going vegan, I know all of that is health related, but being Black and conscious is the thing. But at the same time that consciousness is at its height, so is ignorance. So is ignorance. Like never before have we turned on, a channel where they show rap videos, and you got brothers doing rap videos on top of the grave site of one of their ops. We've never seen anything like that before. So we're at the height of consciousness and the height of ignorance at the same time. At the same time. But what we know is that falsehood may travel faster, but truth always travels further. So at some point, the ignorance is going to have to take a seat and give way to the consciousness. And it's almost like a baby is being born. We're going through a birth process as a culture. But while this is battling this, we have to make certain that our ideas are on the side of the consciousness effort and make certain that we're slowly chipping away at our addiction to those things that represent this side of ignorance. And I think in that is going to lie our victory. But right now, there's a battle going on. And it's high level.
There's definitely a battle, and I agree. And, with soldiers like you in the battle, I know we won't lose. We will not lose. And it's going to be a long battle. It's something that might take 300 years to win this battle. And I want everybody to kind of understand that these are things that are not going to happen in your lifetime. The result of most of the work being done, by people like Brother Deric and like many of you in the chat, the results of that work are not going to be seen in your lifetime. You have to understand that. You look at, for example, Nat Turner. When Nat Turner died, I'm sure he felt that he had failed, that his contribution would be forgotten, that it didn't matter. And we know what Nat Turner means to us, 200-300 years later. So I want to encourage you to just understand the value of planting seeds. I mean, this requires faith. Faith is something where you believe in the things you cannot see, not just what you can see. And also delayed gratification is extremely important. Whether you're talking about building wealth or building a community or building real power, delayed gratification is critical. And you have to separate from a lot of the culture you see advertised in mainstream media, because they advertise instant gratification. They advertise the fast money, the fast life. You saw the other day, Juvenile did a rap video basically saying, vax that thing up, go get the shot and you can go get some sex. Like right now, that's an instant gratification culture. If you want, I don't know if you saw that, brother, at the end, the last lyric, when they said, if you want to smash some dude named Scott, go and get the shot. Right now, the interesting thing, and I'm not telling people what to think about the shot. You can have whatever opinion you want on that, but you think about this, right? This shot, a lot of us don't even know what's in it. It can have serious long-term health effects, but they're basically saying that if you do this thing that might jeopardize your long-term health, you're going to get this thing that's going to give you instant gratification. We will give you the carrot, the reward, in the instant reward for something that may have long-term effects. And that's, and so that's why you see so many ads where they say, come get the shot, we'll give you some donuts. Come get the shot, we'll give you some weed. Come get the shot, we'll give you something that will create those endorphins. And that's not just in that area. I mean, this is everywhere. If you remember the movie, the NWA movie, Straight Outta Compton, there was a part where Jerry Heller basically said, here's $80,000, instant gratification. All you got to do is sign on the dotted line, sign this piece of paper that's going to allow me to enslave you for the next 30 years. And what I will tell people right now is that the people who accumulate wealth and power in an ethical way are the people who can who embrace that delayed gratification and say, no, I'll pay a price now so I can have more later. The people who fail are the people who say, I will pay the price later to have something more. So let me ask you this, brother. I want, and then you can feel free to respond to that as well. But one thing I wanted to definitely ask you about is you do something really significant called the Black Male Summit.
Yes, sir.
And you are one of the world's leading experts in terms of building better men in the community, which I think is remarkable and incredibly important. Can you speak to some of that in terms of what our Black men need when they're hearing from guys like you and I in ways that they can actually be successful in this world?
Yes, and it goes hand in hand with the principle that you were enunciating about delayed gratification. There is an African proverb that says, "Blessed is the man who plants a tree in whose shade that he will not enjoy." So imagine planting a tree, working hard to plant that tree, but you know that by the time the tree grows, you won't even be around, but you're okay with the fact that future generations will sit in the shade of the tree that you planted. That is the mindset that we have to have. And when we have that mindset, it's easier for us to see the unique needs of Black boys in America. Let's just be clear. We are at war for the lives of our Black boys. Not only are our Black boys being targeted by the police, being targeted by the educational system, being targeted by every system in America, which all of these systems are poisoned and permeated by the demonic philosophy of white supremacy. We're also in an age where our boys are killing one another at an all-time high rate. So the other day, I got a phone call from one of the mothers of my mentees, 18 years old, good boy. He's a good boy, but just got some issues in his life. But these are not issues that he himself created. These are issues that he inherited. And she started telling me some of the things he was doing, being disrespectful. So I'm like, listen, I'm on my way. Dropped what I was doing and I shot over there. And when I got there, he was outside in the front yard, pacing back and forth. And when I walked up to him and I grabbed him and I hugged him, he just melted in my arms. And this is a strong little brother. And he was just crying from the gut. And the first thing he said to me, Dr. Boyce, was, "I want to die." That was the first thing he said to me. And the way he said it to me, I knew that he meant it. Now, normally, I wouldn't share anything like this publicly. Obviously, I'm not sharing his name, but I'm sharing it publicly just to put an exclamation point on what is needed from us by our young boys. And he's not living in poverty. He's well taken care of on that end, but there's something going on the inside. And there's so much pain on the inside. And he has not been taught how to properly express it. And he needs someone that will walk shoulder to shoulder with him to be able to help him, to advise him, to let them know that they care even when he makes a mistake. So for the next few days, I had to do a lot of one-on-one, with him. And by God's grace, he's in a much better space right now. But it just bears witness to the power of the presence of a Black man in a Black boy's life. And you don't have to have, listen to me well, you don't have to have a big platform like Dr. Boyce Watkins to do so. The best work is the one-on-one work, the each one teach one work, the work that nobody sees, the conversations that nobody hears except you and that young boy, that young brother. And so I want to challenge all Black professionals, and you don't even have to be a professional. You could be a yard man, you could be a sanitation worker. You might not even have work going on right now. I don't know. But you should be pouring back into somebody. And if you're not, you're failing your community. Again, you don't have to have a big platform to do it. We have to adopt and reactivate the concept and the idea of each one teach one. And I think that is the only way that we're going to get Black boys in America to the level that they deserve to be. And that's the level that God created them to be on. And that is the level of a young God. But it's going to take some investment, bro.
Right on. Well, I love it. I love it. And everybody, I want to let you all know I'm speaking with Mr. Deric Muhammad. You can follow Deric. You should follow Deric at Deric Muhammad, which is spelled on the screen. Don't spell it with a K, spell it with a C. And it's one R, not two. And everything that you said has been on point, man. And I really loved it. And you and I have been Instagram, social media friends for a long time. And it literally just, God told me, reach out, bring him in. And that's what I did. There was no special occasion, nothing in particular going on. But I felt like you were one of those people that I needed to, rebuild with in a way that was, beyond simply shouting each other out on social media. Because, we shout each other out all the time. But I think that these alliances are important because I really think, unfortunately, a lot of our young men are not always getting the best advice, and my sensitivity was heightened to it when I saw a lot of guys who didn't even understand why a man would want to be a stepfather, and I did not understand that, and because I think being a stepdad is the greatest thing in the world. I'm not even really a stepdad. I'm the real dad. We don't even talk step and all that. But I was like, wait, why wouldn't you want to mentor young children? Like, this is awesome. Like, you get a chance to secure your legacy and all that. And then it hit me. Wait, I'm 50. And a lot of these guys are 25 and 26, 27 years old that are saying this. And I think that was where I said, okay, let me just go ahead and kind of break some of this down and address it head on so that we can really understand and reclaim what manhood means. And because I know that if I'd never had a father that was there for me, my biological father was not there. He was just, I can't say much about him. But I had a man that stepped in and married my mother, raised me as a own, and made that sacrifice. And I think that if I had never had that, I don't know if I would see myself as even being worthy of that. And I would probably see children and the kids in the community as more of a burden than as an opportunity. That's where you can make your investments. And so it was that influence from my father, which a lot of our kids, 76% of our kids don't have a father in the home. And I think that's sad because fathers in the house, that makes a difference. Seeing that dad every day, every morning at breakfast, all that, him constantly being, on your back about stuff like that builds a different type of boy than a guy who maybe sees his father once a year or something like that, or three times a year, whatever the number is. Right. So ultimately, I really hope that men can really embrace different aspects of manhood. I hope that the community can fight against the culture that tells women that they don't need a man. I think the man is critical for protection. I think just basic things like your children are less likely to be molested if there's a man around. Like, no one will ever touch my daughters in the house because I'm here and their father's around the corner. You're going to get hurt if you ever try something like that. But, there are situations where things happen because the protection of the father is not there. So I think that what you're doing is very important for that reason. And we really have to, in my view, have a parenthood bailout. The same way they bailed out the banks, we're going to have to bail out our families a little bit, which means that my rule is very basic. If I see a Black child that needs my help in that moment, it is my duty as a Black man to do something for that child. Right. Don't get me wrong. I ain't gonna bring you home. You ain't gonna be living in the house necessarily. But if that means I got to be your daddy for 10 minutes, then I embrace that fully because that's my job. That's my responsibility. When I get online and I have people that say, I look at you as like my adopted dad. I have people that'll say that in the chat, and I say that's exactly right. I am your dad, and I love you very much because you need the validation of a father so you can go into this world with the confidence that comes from knowing that you had a man that really loved you and cared about you and want you to do well. And I'm pushing that to people to say, embrace that, embrace the things that your community needs, and stop worrying about what the hell white people are telling you or what you're seeing on TV or what everybody's telling you is cool. Half that stuff that they tell you is cool. It's the same stuff that's getting you killed. You know, we got to look at it head on. When you see these rappers dying at the age of 45, it's because they were living a life that was breeding death, right? And they market that to you. And next thing you know, you got these young brothers killing themselves and putting themselves in terrible situations. Families a complete mess. Single mothers out here barely making it. Little kids out here running the streets. And you don't know how that happened. Well, it happened because you're getting advice from all the wrong people. So I want you all to go follow Deric Muhammad. Please, please, please follow him, because I want us to at least start committing ourselves to getting advice from the right people. He is one of the right people, and that's why I asked him to come in here. So thank you very much, brother. I'll let you get the last word, man.
No, just I want to say thank you again, Dr. Boyce. I want to encourage you as my brother to keep doing what you're doing, bro. You're making a difference when you don't think that you are. And you mentioned being a young boy's dad for 10 minutes. I want to say that you will be surprised at the impact that 10 minutes has on that child. If you speak to a young boy, a young black boy, and he can tell that you're speaking from the heart, and you give him, sometimes you're giving him the advice that he's been looking for 10 years. In that 10 minutes, you could shave 10 years off of his life. And I think that's the approach that we have to take. But America has given us a mindset of individualism. So any man who would say, you know, whatever you want to, whatever you do, you don't want to be a stepdad. You're thinking about how being a stepfather will impact you. You're not thinking about how being a stepfather would impact that child. And until we learn to get the hell away from and rid of the white supremacist mindset of individualism and get back to the concept of we all we got, then we'll continue running in place. And like you said earlier, going 100 miles per hour, but going backwards. But in closing, I would like for all of us to remember the words of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said that no individual can ever rise above the condition of his or her people. So it doesn't matter if you are a millionaire, a billionaire. It doesn't matter if you've achieved all of these different levels of success in white America. At some point, when you'll walk into a room and they'll look at you and they'll see you just like the young, what we call crackhead. I hate to use that kind of terminology, sitting at the bus stop. And that's what happened to Bill Cosby. With all that he accomplished, he still was not able to rise above the condition of his people. If they could do it to him, they could do it to us. And so until we start seeing one another as equals, and when I say equals, meaning the one who has the most money doesn't have more value, is not more valuable than the one who has the least money. The dark-skinned brother or sister is not more valuable than the light-skinned brother or sister. The alpha is not more valuable than the omega. The Christian is not more valuable than the Muslim, and vice versa. When we begin to unite on that B1 platform, meaning that if being black is enough for them to gang up and attack us just because we're black, then being black should be enough for us to gang up and fight the powers that want to stop our resurrection and our rise.
All right.
Dr. Boyce.
I love it. And everybody put a B1 in the chat to let this brother know that you get what he's saying. He was right on point with that. His name is Deric Muhammad, and this is how you can follow him. Everybody follow Deric on social media. Please do that, and hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done that yet. And also, just a reminder to everybody before we head on out, you know, every Wednesday night at 8:30, I have a book club, and it's totally free, and it's part of my life class, which is also free to you, at blackkeystogreatness.com. And right now we are reading together. We're going through Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth. So you can go to blackkeystogreatness.com. It's a great motivational program in terms of setting goals, time management, things like that. But there's also the book club aspect, which you can join for free. And we're going to cover Black Labor, White Wealth. Then we're going to do Powernomics. Then we're going to do the Black History Reader. So if you'd like to join us Wednesday nights at 8:30, sign up at blackkeystogreatness.com. And once again, I want to say thank you very much, Deric. It was great to talk to you again, brother. All right. And everybody, please please follow Deric at Deric Muhammad. Put that on screen one more time. You all have a wonderful day. God bless you. We will see you soon. Take care. Peace.